Hey there, sports fans. I know this is not a sport, but just felt like saying that. So, got some news about Solo: A Star Wars Story, and I don't want to say I told you so, but anyway, you can make your own decision. So, as of this morning, Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018, I'm reading reports that Solo: A Star Wars Story is projected to have an opening of anywhere from 130 to 150 million dollars. And this is for a 3 to 4 day weekend. It's the Memorial Day weekend, which usually movies track to do a lot better. Now, this is a huge drop from the prediction a few weeks ago that the movie was going to do 170 million. Okay? Now, earlier this year, where we had the Infinity War, it tracked to do overdue, sorry, 200 million. Okay, Black Panther, which was released in February, not over a holiday weekend, and neither was Infinity War, was tracked to do over 200 million. And 6 months ago, with The Last Jedi being released in the middle of the holidays, but not a holiday weekend, did over 200 million. So Solo is not going to do that well, even though it's placed in a primed 3 to 4 day holiday weekend. Okay, and I'm going to say it now. I don't even think it's going to make that number. Okay, and here is my belief as to why. So I'm a procrastinator. I'm not going to deny that. I wait to the last minute when I buy my movie tickets. I usually, if I want to go see a movie on Thursday, I usually buy my tickets either Wednesday or Thursday. I do not buy my tickets a week or 2 weeks ahead of time, even though it's a movie I know is coming out and I really want to see, due to multiple reasons, but mostly because I procrastinate. So, when it came to Star Wars The Last Jedi, I waited until the day or two before I bought my tickets, and every site I went to, tickets were either sold out or now that you can reserve your seats, there were one or two seats available in very non prime seating, mostly in the front where you have to look straight up and, hurt your neck. And I do not like to sit there. I still ended up going to the movies on opening night, but it would be, showings at either 12:30 in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning. But I still got to go. Uh, for The Last Jedi, every theater I tried to find seats for were empty. I mean, were gone. Okay, no tickets available. So let's move on to the Black Panther. Black Panther, I have at least 4 or 5 theaters around me, and tickets were sold out and were so unavailable that I could not buy a ticket until I think Sunday or Monday night. I can't remember specifically, but I could not get a ticket for opening day. All right. Now, this was a movie about a character that nobody knew. It's in February, and usually people are doing something else, Valentine's or whatnot, school stuff related. Usually, February is not a prime movie going deal, but tickets were gone. Okay, understand that. Every single theater I would click on, there were no available tickets. Usually, I could buy a ticket at the early show, which is around 9 or 10 o'clock in my time. Those were sold out. And even for Sunday mornings, where usually in my area people go to church, I tried to buy a ticket for early Sunday morning. Those were sold out. So that kind of shows the demand for these two movies. So let me fast forward to Avengers Infinity War, where once again, I tried to buy my tickets actually 2 or 3 days ahead. And all the tickets in my area were sold out. Okay. And I was able to get some tickets for uh, Friday morning, 1 o'clock in the morning. So once again, the Infinity War showed that people wanted to go see this movie. Now these were movies that tracked to do over 200 million, and they each one of those did over 200 million. Okay, so as of this morning, I checked all those same theaters in my area. Okay, and tickets are nowhere near sold out. And I'll give you some examples. I bought my tickets for Solo for Thursday night, which is tomorrow, Monday afternoon. I clicked I clicked on the site, clicked the time I wanted to go, and there were no seats sold. Absolutely zero. So I had I waited until later on that afternoon to purchase my tickets, and I checked again, and only 2 seats were sold. So, and I went ahead and purchased my tickets. I checked again yesterday just to see how many tickets were sold. Only 4 tickets have been sold. That's my two and the other two that were already purchased. I checked this morning and only those 4 tickets are sold. This is Wednesday morning. 20, a little bit over 24 hours to the opening of Star Wars Solo. And only 4 tickets have been sold. Now, maybe I picked the wrong time. There were other times available. So I clicked on some of the other times. I clicked on 11 o'clock at night. Only 2 tickets were sold. I clicked on 9 o'clock at night. 8 tickets were sold. I clicked on the prime time to go, 8 o'clock. 4 tickets are sold. I clicked on the 3Ds. 10 tickets were sold. Guys, these theaters are not even half full. Okay? When all these other movies that track to do over 200 million were selling out tickets for the entire weekend, in order for this movie to even do half as well, the movies would have to track to be half sold out for the weekend. At least in my logic. Tell me if I'm wrong. But last I looked, selling 4 tickets is not half the theater. Okay? This movie is not going to do well. And of course, you can say, well, maybe on Memorial Day weekend, everybody, will decide, hey, let's just go see a movie. That's very well possible. Okay? But everybody I've talked to in my local area from work, I've talked to my son, I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people are not planning on going. They have other things to do. I asked my son, I said, son, do you want to go see Star Wars? He's not a huge Star Wars fan, but for The Last Jedi, he's like, yeah, I'll go. For Infinity War, yeah, I'll go. In fact, for Infinity War, he went twice. But for Star Wars, I asked him, I said, do you want to go see Solo? No, that's okay. I asked my coworkers at work, who are, some of them are, the huge Star Wars fans, some are, okay, meh folks. And I've asked them, do they plan on seeing Solo? If I get around to it. I have a friend whose son loves Star Wars. They can sit here and watch Star Wars all the time and talk about Star Wars. They buy the toys. And I asked him if he was going. And his response was, if I get around to it. Guys, that is the truth out there. The numbers are not lying. They can say the movie is tracking to do 130 to 150 million. I'm saying it now. Solo may not even crack 100 million. and it's definitely not going to hit the $1 billion mark. Okay, so when I had my past video of, is there too much Star Wars, or are people going to boycott Star Wars? The truth is out there, folks. It's showing that nobody is interested, or people are losing interest in Solo. And people are, in general, are losing interest in Star Wars. And if Disney does not figure a way to turn this around, we could be on the end of losing a major franchise. This was my concern when Disney purchased the property back in 2012, 6 years ago. I told everybody that would hear me at work. I wasn't on YouTube at the time. I wish I was. That Disney could ruin the property. The headline said Disney is purchasing Star Wars from George Lucas for $4 billion, which was way too cheap. But that's another rant for another day. And then after they announced that they were purchasing it, they were going to put out 3 movies in the next few years. There, it was, hey, we're purchasing Star Wars, and episodes 7, 8, and 9 are coming out. We don't know what they're about, but we know we're going to make them. That immediately told me these guys are going to milk this franchise to death. And of course, I was personally excited over certain aspects because I am a fan of Disney as a business, and I knew that they would do certain things correctly. I'm excited for Star Wars Land and Disney. Okay, Disneyland or Disney World. I thought they should have worked with Lucasfilm years ago, back when they had Star Tours, to just go ahead and make a Star Wars Land, license Star Wars from Lucasfilm, and make a Star Wars Land. But now they have it, so it made perfect sense to do that and have a Star Wars themed hotel and have Star Wars themed candy and food and have people walking around. Hell, I even went to Orlando a few times when they did Star Wars Celebration a few weeks in May and June every year. Okay, I am a fan. I'll go down there and buy their limited edition toys, and they'd make a ton of money off of me and everybody else who would, you know, willing to part with their money. This is obviously a money making opportunity for Disney, but as with all business, you have to show some restraint and some logic when it comes to your property. And Disney is finding a way to screw that up. How do you screw up Star Wars? This is something that's going to be in business cases for years to come if Disney does not make a change. And I firmly believe that after we see the results of Solo, that Disney is going to make a change. And if they don't make a change after Solo, they're definitely going to make a change after the next one. I don't know if it's Kenobi or Orlando or Episode 9, but Disney has to make a change. I don't. That's my personal thoughts. The movie's not going to do $100 million this weekend. The numbers don't lie. So unless everybody in my area decides to buy their tickets in the next 24 hours, I'm going to be sitting in the theater with three other people watching Solo: A Star Wars Story. That is the same amount of people I sat in the theater with to see Tomb Raider. That is less than the amount of people that I sat in a room with to watch Game Night and Rampage on opening night. So you can't tell me, and look at the opening weekends for those numbers. Rampage was 30 or 40 million, if I remember correctly. It finally hit like 400 million recently. And that's respectable numbers for that kind of movie. But this is Star Wars. Star Wars needs to be treated better. And in fact, I plan on following up this video, and sometime in the near future, maybe within the next week or so, I will present, in my own personal opinion, what Disney needs to do to turn this franchise around. Because since they've purchased it, they've done nothing but make mistake after mistake after mistake. And I'll give you some examples now. From licensing the games to EA and their whole Star Wars Battlefield craziness, to wiping out the expanded universe from the comics and the books. Just wiped them out. Just said, oh, 20 years of canon that Star Wars fans have been using no longer exists. Except when it's convenient for us. To hiring directors to make movies and going, okay, make your movie. And then when the directors are halfway through, they turn around and say, well, that's not what we wanted. So now we have to reshoot everything. Well, why weren't you guys on the same page in the beginning? Who was watching these guys? Or I'm pretty sure, was there an approval process as far as storytelling and script writing? If I'm sitting down with a director and a writer, and the director says, okay, I want to make a movie where all the Jedi decide to shop at Big Lots, maybe somebody at Disney should sit down and say, no, that's not what we want. Instead of letting the director direct whatever he wants, and then they sit down and watch the final product and say, oh, we didn't know that Jedi were going to Big Lots. And there's nothing wrong with Big Lots. It's just the first thing that popped in my head. That's not what we were looking for. That should have been handled way in the beginning. And we've had issues with Rogue One. We've had issues with Solo. And don't even get me started on The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi was just awful. But Solo right now needs to make $500 million just to break even. And I'm not going to go into the whole finances of how Hollywood money works. But right now, they are $250 million in the hole. They need to make $500 million to break even. And like I said earlier in this video, it's tracking to do 130 to 150 million this weekend. And the numbers don't go up. It's not like they're going to do 130 million and then the following weekend do 200 million. The first weekend is typically the absolute best one. Very rarely does a movie do better the following weekends, and those are usually movies that have had decent word of mouth, low marketing, and for some reason people say, oh, this is a movie you have to see. And examples are like The Sixth Sense or There's Something About Mary. These are older movies, but rarely do movies do better the following weekends after. The first weekend is typically your best weekend. And typically you lose 50 to 60% of your revenue after the first weekend. So if you're only making at the most 150 million, next week you're looking at 75. And then the weekend after that, 30 to 50. So in 3 weeks' time, Star Wars is looking to make, let's see, 150, 75, 225, barely 250 million in 3 weeks. That's not breaking even, folks, because you still have a lot of fees and marketing to pay for. They have to make 500 million to break even. Now internationally, like I said, internationally, they will make over their 500 million, but it will not break $1 billion. I'm saying that now. And if I turn out to be wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. But the numbers are not lying here. I am going to be sitting in the theater with 3 other people. And if that changes, I will say that changed. But as of right now, I'm looking at empty theaters in my local area, or half empty theaters, 4, 5, 10 tickets sold. That's not enough. Anyway, that's it for me for now. Disney, you're going to have to make a change. And I'm pretty sure after this 4-day weekend, 3, 4, 5, however many days they want to call it in Hollywood world, because the movie comes out Thursday. So you can say Thursday numbers, you can say Friday numbers, Saturday, Sunday, and you can count Monday numbers. So you can say 4 or 5 days. So they can count all 5 days, and the movie will make 130 to 150 million because they had 5 days, and they'll go, "Oh, this was great. This was wonderful. This is what we were expecting." But you have to understand that's still 4 or 5 days. Last Jedi, 3 days. Technically, maybe 4. Black Panther, 3, 4 days. Not a holiday weekend. Avengers Infinity War, not a holiday weekend. Those guys made $250 million to packed houses. Solo is not going to do that. And if Disney continues what they're doing, they're going to see empty theaters. Like I said, I'm done. I've given my rant. Solo, a Star Wars story, is not going to do well. I'm out of here.